If you want to level up in Strikers Club and start winning way more matches, just chasing the ball isn't enough. You need strategy, positioning, and quick decisions. With that in mind, I've gathered 10 essential tips that can help you improve your performance, dominate the pitch, and leave your opponents behind. I'm Matthew, and the video is about to start. One of the first things I noticed playing Strikers Club is that holding onto the ball for too long almost always ends in trouble. The game clearly doesn't reward that more ball hog style. On the contrary, the more you try to solve everything by yourself, the more the opposing defense closes in and pressures you until you lose possession. That's when I understood I needed to completely change the way I play. I started prioritizing the quick pass, even when my instinct told me to keep pushing forward. At first it feels weird, because you always think you can pull off one more dribble or win a 1v1. But in Strikers Club, releasing the ball earlier than expected opens up spaces that simply don't appear when you take too long. The opposing defense doesn't have time to reorganize, and that creates much clearer opportunities. Over time, it became evident to me that this is one of the biggest differences between average and good players. Those who play well think one step ahead and use the passing game as their primary tool to dismantle the marking. Meanwhile, those who hold on to it too much end up predictable, facilitate pressure, and most of the time lose the play even before getting close to the goal. Today, whenever I have the ball, my priority is simple: pass quickly and reposition. This rhythm makes the game more fluid, creates more chances, and even makes the team function better as a whole. At the end of the day, playing well in Strikers Club isn't about shining alone, it's about making the ball work for you. A tip I think is very important is to stop automatically blaming the goalkeeper. Since the game has no machine assistance, no RNG, and no hidden assists, almost everything that happens stems from human decision-making, positioning, passing timing, and shooting time. In practice, this completely changes the way you think about the game. If you conceded a goal, many times the flaw started earlier, with a forced pass, delayed cover, or a poorly calculated tackle. The goalkeeper was just left exposed to the consequence. I like this logic because it makes every match fairer. Instead of looking at the final mistake, it's worth looking at the entire play and realizing where the team actually disorganized. Because in Strikers Club, the result usually rewards whoever reads space better and decides faster. So if you want to win more matches, think like this: fewer excuses, better game reading. When you start accepting that almost every conceded goal comes from a bad choice prior to the finish, it becomes much easier to actually fix the problem and level up your game. One thing I had to learn the hard way was to stop forcing unnecessary dribbles. In the beginning, it's very tempting to try to get past several players in a row, especially when you think you have space. But in practice, this almost always ends the same way. You lose the ball and still leave your team exposed. Over time, I started to notice that the game doesn't favor this more individualistic style. The defense recovers quickly, opponents press well, and any mistake turns into a counterattack. That's when I understood that dribbling shouldn't be the foundation of my play style, but rather a situational resource, used only when it truly makes sense. Today, I use dribbling with much more criteria. Instead of trying to get past everyone, I focus on specific situations, like gaining a small amount of space or breaking direct marking. This greatly increases the efficiency of plays and drastically reduces possession losses, which are heavily punished at the game's pace. Playing better in Strikers Club is much more about making good decisions than trying flashy plays all the time. When you stop exaggerating with dribbles and start playing smarter, the game flows better and victories start showing up much more consistently. In the beginning, I used skill moves almost automatically, more for the idea of winning in style than for strategy. Rainbow flicks, 360 spins, anything I could pull off I tried to squeeze into the play. The problem is that, many times, this led nowhere. Either I lost the ball, or the play died right there. Over time, I started to understand that skill moves aren't there to humiliate anyone, but rather to create a real advantage. When I started using skill moves to open up passing angles or set up a shot, everything changed. A small movement was already enough to get the marker out of the way and leave a clean passing lane that didn't exist before. Another thing that made a huge difference was using these movements in the right space. Instead of trying something complicated in the middle of multiple defenders, I started applying skill moves in more controlled situations, with a little bit of space. This greatly increases efficiency and makes every movement have a clear purpose within the play. Today, I see skill moves as a tactical tool, not as decoration. When well used, they intelligently break the defense and create real goal-scoring opportunities. It's that mindset shift. It's not about looking good, it's about making it work, and that directly impacts the number of wins. Before, I always tried to control the ball, adjust my body, and only then finish. But that extra little bit of time makes all the right difference, and almost always works against you. When I started finishing right after receiving the pass, I noticed that goal chances increased significantly. The shot comes out cleaner, faster, and catches the defense completely off guard. The goalkeeper, being controlled by another player, simply doesn't have the same reaction time they would have if you delayed your finish. Furthermore, the very rhythm of the game favors this type of play. Strikers Club rewards quick decisions, and the first-time shot fits into that perfectly. When you over-control, you give the marking time to arrive, close the angle, or even block the shot, with an immediate finish on the exact moment it exists. Today, whenever I'm well-positioned and receive a pass in good conditions, I don't even think twice. It's a first-time shot. This makes my game much more objective and dangerous, turning simple plays into real goal-scoring chances. It's a small change in how you play, but it has a massive impact on the results. In the beginning, I tried to steal the ball at any cost, but that only opened up space and left my defense disorganized. That's when I realized that many times the best defense is simply positioning yourself well. When I started focusing on closing passing lanes, everything changed. Instead of going straight at the player with the ball, I started placing myself in the path of his options. This forces the opponent to think more, miss passes, or even cycle the play backward. And the best part, you recover possession much more safely without exposing yourself. Another important thing I learned alongside this is knowing when to pass backward. When the opposing defense is very compact or pressing hard, insisting forward only complicates things. Cycling backward and reorganizing the attack opens up new spaces and lets the team breathe, instead of losing the ball on a forced play. Today, my defense is much more consistent because I play with more patience and game reading. Instead of acting on impulse, I think about positioning and the opponent's options. This not only improves marking, but also creates better opportunities when I win the ball back. One thing I took a while to accept was the importance of using back passes. At first, it felt counterintuitive. After all, we always want to move forward. But insisting on going forward when the defense is completely locked down almost always ends in a turnover. Over time, I started cycling the game backward more often when I noticed the opponent was very compact or pressing heavily. And that's when everything started flowing better. By playing the ball backward, you force the other team to move, break their shape, and often open up the exact space that didn't exist before. Besides, dropping back doesn't mean playing passively, but rather playing with intelligence. Instead of forcing a play with no space, you reorganize the attack, switch the side of the pitch, and create new options. This makes your team more unpredictable and makes opposing marking much harder. Today, I see the back pass as an essential tool, not as a sign of retreat. Many of my best plays start precisely like this, cycling the ball back, repositioning the team, and waiting for the right moment to attack. This patience makes all the difference in the match results. In the beginning, I missed a lot of passes and shots and didn't even fully understand why. It was only later that I realized everything depends directly on where the camera is pointing. Since there is no aim assist whatsoever, the game demands total precision. This means it's not enough to just press the right button. You need to properly align the camera before acting. When I started paying attention to this and gradually adjusting the sensitivity, my long passes and diagonal balls became much more accurate. This fine-tuning makes a huge difference during the match. Plays that used to feel random start turning out exactly as you picture them. You gain more control over the game's tempo, manage to switch play with quality, and create chances with much more consistency. Another detail that helped me a lot was using Alt to lock the camera during set pieces, like free kicks, corners, and penalties. This gives much more stability when aiming and significantly increases accuracy in these decisive situations. At the end of the day, mastering the camera is mastering the game, and that greatly elevates your level inside Strikers Club. A tip I consider decisive is simple. Pass to space, not to feet. In a game with no assistance, this makes all the difference, because the ball needs to arrive where your teammate is going to be, not where he is standing still. I like this idea because it completely changes the rhythm of the play. When you place the pass ahead of the run, the move flows better, the attacker gains an advantage, and the opposing defense is always left chasing the action. Another detail a lot of people mess up is overdoing the power. In practice, the short and soft pass usually works best because it keeps possession alive and avoids that classic mistake of sending the ball too far and killing the play before it even starts. And there's a part I find very valuable: releasing the ball before pressure arrives. Whoever learns this becomes a much more useful player in any lobby because they start controlling the tempo of the attack and not just the direction of the play. If there's one thing I see constantly, especially in public matches, is that classic chaos, everyone running after the ball like it's the final play of the championship. And honestly, this destroys any chance of winning consistently. It feels intuitive to go for the ball all the time, but in practice, this just messes up the entire team and opens space for easy counterattacks. The right way to play is to think in terms of shape, not impulse. While one player pressures the ball carrier, the others need to do the invisible work: close passing lanes, occupy space, and anticipate plays. It's the kind of thing that doesn't show up as much on the stats, but it's what actually wins matches. When everyone understands this role, the team starts looking genuinely organized. A simple rule that completely changes the game is the 10-meter rule. If you are so close to a teammate that you could shake his hand, something is already wrong. This means you are occupying the same space and leaving another sector completely open. And guess what? That's exactly where the opponent is going to exploit. Once you start applying this, the game feels even calmer to play. You stop running in desperation and start reading plays better. And the most interesting part is that, even though it looks like you're doing less, you're actually contributing way more to the win. It's that mindset shift that separates a chaotic team from a team that actually knows what it's doing.
Don't be scared. Just step it up.